everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Tamitou here. So this video is going to be a build that represents the city of Havana in Cuba. So I've just built a little street with some residential lots, some community lots underneath, all kinds of lots all kind of in one street, and I really enjoyed building it. It was a lot of fun. So I wanted to represent the city as much as I could in one lot, but mostly it was just very fun and colorful and vibrant to kind of layer up all these items and make it look realistic and just give it that life that maybe you would experience if you actually went there. I've not been lucky enough to go there myself yet, but it's definitely a place that I want to visit. For the culture, I guess, and the music and the vibrancy and the food and the cars and yeah. So I, for now, have just built myself this little version that my Sims can live in. So I used a few inspiration pictures for this, and my other inspiration was basically the Jungle Adventure pack. So I did actually start building this just after that came out, and I've spent a few hours working on it bit by bit, and I've edited it all together now. So I really hope you enjoy it. So the main kind of inspiration pictures I took were the classic kind of colorful buildings, although they are sort of more decrepit looking, and they've obviously not been maintained. And also you've got the classic look of the cars lined up outside, the classic Chevrolets, Cadillacs, Fords, all those kind of 1960s cars. And I have put a row of those in that I'll put in more closer to the end, but then the rest of the street is kind of more like I said, it's got some flats above it, or apartments, some small businesses underneath, and I haven't actually filled them all up yet. Because the build is so big, I decided that I filled a couple of them for this video, and then what I'm going to do is make another couple of videos furnishing one or two community lots. So for example, there's a bar / restaurant that I want to do in one of the bigger lots, and I will be doing that off camera because I wanted to show the full build. I didn't want to rush it, and what I've already put in at the moment I'm not happy with it, so I'm going to redo it again. But you might know that big builds are quite tiring, and you can easily lose your inspiration halfway through and just not be bothered to furnish the rest of it. So I thought I'd leave it for another day and really have a better go at it. So yeah, that's what I've done. Now I'm going to show you the process on this pink building, and then I have skipped ahead to some of them more completed because it did take a lot of time to layer. So now you see here that I've skipped ahead again. The green one's also done. I've kind of layered a lot of wall items, fences for the roofing. I've added some Art Deco kind of decoration on these ones. And they're all kind of themed around the color of each building, so it's very cute and quite easy to actually build, just because you just need to filter by the color that you're doing and then just pick out the items that work. And then I've added the little balconies and things like that as well. I did want the buildings to look all different heights and different levels, and all kind of like a real city skyline would look, but because obviously the wall height setting restricts you for the whole build, I've just sort of added different heights with half walls and fences and things like that, just to kind of give it that illusion of different levels. So this building here is going to be the one that I'm probably going to convert into or that I do convert into a bar / restaurant. It does have live music down the bottom, which from the bit of research I've done about Havana has or it is a very popular thing that you would see there, sort of live bands playing downstairs, people dancing and drinking and that kind of thing. Whereas upstairs I wanted more of a sit-down restaurant area, but it'll all be sort of one lot, and once I find the inspiration for that specific lot, I'll film that as well. So yeah, I went with this dark blue for this building, and those Jungle Adventure windows weren't working for me, so in the end I did swap them for more, I think they're vampire ones, but you can see I've gone with a more neoclassical look for that particular building. So yeah, I like how it worked out in the end. So this is how I kind of made all the buildings look decrepit and worn and not basically not maintained. So they're actually usually, I think, more kind of worn look than the color, if you get me. So there's more cracks than there is color on the building still. So but I thought it really added to the beauty of it. I don't know, something about that means they've really been stuck in time there. If you're not too familiar with the sort of history of Cuba, I'm not really going to go into the politics of it, but more of the architectural history. So because Cuba was founded in the 16th century by the Spanish, it's been around for a long time, and it's had a lot of different people pass through and leave their mark on it. So it's got the biggest mix of architectural styles in the world. And you can see a lot of French design, a lot of Spanish, Greek, Italian, all kinds of influences, which makes it even more beautiful. It's kind of just a mismatch of everything. And by the way, that flag that I've put on the roof, I think it was the closest to the Cuban flag I could find. I thought that was cool. It had the blue and red kind of look. So yeah, I thought that was a nice touch. So yeah, anyway, the neoclassical style was a big part of the buildings there, as well as Art Deco sort of style from 1927 onwards in the more wealthier parts. And there's also like Baroque and Moorish influences there. So there's a lot of kind of themes and influences that have gone into these buildings. So I've kind of tried to interpret those in the different buildings that as I could. So yeah, you'll see that some of them are a bit more embellished, some are a bit more worn, but still altogether they look beautiful. I think it's really come together well at this point. And of course, another reason that a lot of the cars, especially in Havana, Cuba, have been or only the old cars sort of from 60s and before, is because of the US embargo that was imposed in 1960 or 1959-60. Since then, basically everything's been stuck in time because there was no more importing allowed from the US. So all these classic Cadillacs, Chevys, Dodges, Buicks, Fords, those kind of things, they are the originals that were last imported. And since then, the locals who own them have had to take care of them and like really take care of them. That's why they're so shiny in the photos. And now they're obviously used to taxi around tourists, and you can even go take a ride in one. And obviously that's how a lot of locals will make their living there. So they're not just, beautiful things to look at. They are, a way of life for a lot of people there, I imagine. So yeah, I did try to represent that with the limited choice of cars we have in Sims at the moment. So I did just end up sizing up a lot of the, the ones in the in like the statue section. They're just objects. They're not even toys or anything. I just sized those up. I used a mannequin just as a reference so that they'd look actual car size. And I ended up just lining them up on this tarmac here. And yeah, they do actually have enough swatches and kind of variations to make it look more realistic, I think. So yeah, it represents that, I think. But yeah, back to the build. This one is a little bit more of a Spanish style with the terracotta and the pink and the roofing detail that you can see. So that's a more typical example of the Spanish influence on the architecture. And I have also gone ahead and tried to add lots of roofing details. So lots of maybe not so attractive looking things like, pipes and AC whatevers, and even things like the washing lines. I just wanted it to look really lively and lived in and real. So actually, to get the washing line, I had to move in a sim, have her do laundry, then put it on the line, and then deleted everything and then just kept it. So when you download it, it might not have the laundry anymore. I think it sometimes does that. But I've had them dotted around, and you should be able to reach them, I think, in all of the cases. Anyway, it just looks really nice when they are kind of hanging over the balconies, and you can imagine like people sort of sat on their balcony, looking down at people walking, and there's just a lot of liveliness going on, and yeah, and the heat, and I imagine it would be just really, really kind of I don't know, vibrant, and I just want to go. I just really want to go now. So this little apartment I'm kind of just furnishing just to show the idea that I had for these buildings. These are more kind of like places that tourists can stay. I've totally forgotten the name of it in Spanish, but they are kind of like little bedsit kind of hostels where if you want a more authentic stay, you can kind of stay in these very small but comfortable kind of little rooms, and yeah, you'll be in the heart of Old Havana, I guess, and you really experience everything, which I think is what I would opt for versus like a 5-star hotel or something. Even if I could afford it, I think I'd prefer to stay in a more like authentic kind of place like this. So I've just put all the necessities, and this particular building, because it's a pink theme, it made it really easy to theme the inside. I just went with it. I kind of figured there'd be minimal work done on the inside. It would just be the same pink. Maybe it's been painted over all the cracks just to make it look a bit newer, and that's it. And it just has all the essentials, and yeah, it's the perfect place to just stay if you're exploring. And then in some other apartments down the same line, I have added bigger, more lived-in looking apartments. So you can tell that maybe a local family lives there, and there's a lot more colour and vibrancy in them. So yeah, you'll see that a bit later on. So now I'm just adding some more detail to the centre of the street. You can see a little cafe there in the green building, which is also going to be a separate build. I just thought I didn't want to skip it too much and rush through it. So instead, I'll edit that into a separate build. And also on the right now, you can see the sort of bar, like live music lounge. That is just a placeholder. I didn't like how that turned out, as I said, so I will be filming that again. I'm going to make it much more authentic. I'm going to do a bit of research for some photos on that. But yeah, that will be a really nice lot as well. And I also wanted some very authentic roof detail, so I've kind of put some washing appliances up here and some plants that I had my sim plant. Yeah, and here she is just changing so that I can take her clothes and use them. It really helps to move a sim in when you're building something, by the way, just for those kind of details. So yeah, this next building is actually going to be more of an official kind of bank or a Western Union type place. So it's very bland. It's very, it's a necessity. So it doesn't have much in it except for the desks and maybe a couple of like, I don't know, ATM kind of looking things. I just wanted there to be some representation of all the different types of buildings. And this is kind of one of the more necessary things, and it kind of has got a 60s feel to it. So these are the kind of desks or whatever that have been kept for so long, because that's all they had. Don't ask me how they got computers, because I don't know, I just had to put them there, didn't I, really? So yeah, this is a more official, boring building, but it helps, like it adds to the realness of the street, I think, and it is in a more kind of Baroque neoclassic building, so it does look more official and banky, and kind of like it's got the security cameras and that kind of thing that maybe don't even work, but it looks really cool. I like it. So yeah, the other kind of ideas I had for filling up these spaces were maybe a little convenience store, like a grocery store with all sorts in it, and maybe I don't know, another little store under a residential lot, maybe, I don't know, something selling cigars, something in Cuba, right? Cigars and rum, I don't know. I'll think of something anyway, and I'll furnish a couple more lots because they're too nice not to furnish. Like I'll probably upload this version as it is now, and then I'll upload it again with the completed community lots, I think. It's probably just the easiest way to do it. So yeah, this apartment now is the example of a more local lived-in apartment. Maybe it's been lived in by a few generations, and it's very small. Like, it's more for a couple. You could possibly, I don't know, fit a toddler bed somewhere in that room, but it's really vibrant as well. I love that, and it's got these massive windows that aren't even they've just got the shutters, they're not even glass, they've just kind of look out into the city. And I think realistically you'd probably have mosquito nets there or something, but but yeah, it's really colourful. I love it. I love the colours, and I love that it is just what you need. It's got everything you need, and realistically here you'd probably spend a lot of time outside enjoying the sun, or inside shading, I don't know. But they've also got the balcony just outside, so they've got a little barbecue area with music, and they can kind of look onto the city. And I guess it would be really nice to sit there throughout the night, and just the city would still be alive and awake, and there'd be music and that kind of thing. That's the kind of atmosphere that I imagine anyway. So if you do have any ideas of other little lots that I could use that aren't residential, then pop them in the comments, and I'll totally read them and see maybe if that would fit into one of the lots. I think the other idea I did have was like a library, or like the old school type of libraries where you go in to use the computer, or like an internet cafe. Yes, I think I'll do that. So yeah, that's probably going to be underneath this building. I did put a little bookshop sign. That could be that one. Anyway, yeah, and now I am just adding again some kind of string lights across the buildings. Realistically, there'd probably be wires and things like that, actual functional, electricity wires or telephone wires, I don't know. But because we only kind of have these very lights, it still did the trick, and it made it look great at night as well. And also, like, it had been maybe the street was used for like a festival or like a street party or something, I don't know. But I really liked it. It's kind of all random, and yeah, they're just kind of strung across. Yeah, so this is the little barbecue area I was talking about. It's only a small portion of the roof, but it has everything you need. And I really love the tiles as well, the Jungle Adventure tiles, because as I said in my other build, they have the really clean version, and then they have the worn version, so you can like put them together and make it look way more realistic, and like the bit that would have been walked on more has been worn out quicker or whatever. So yeah, here's the cars. So I've already kind of told you how I did this. Here's my mannequin lady, and yeah, I just kind of put some cars a little bit wonky, like they've been parked very carefully, and you can kind of see through to the bar there through the arches. I will change that up, but I've kind of put down some basic ideas that I wanted to keep just so that I'd remember. But yeah, it's kind of coming together now. You're seeing sort of the last few bits of and touches that I'm putting on it. And I did add a couple of street items like bins, necessary things like that, bins, like broken ATMs, just things that give that impression of it being a country that's gone through a lot and had to make do with what it has, and I guess it represents the tenacity of the country and the people there. So yeah, I've tried to represent that, and not just the attractive, like, photogenic parts of it. So yeah, a bit of overgrown plants there, and I think I add some banners as well. Yeah, I thought I did, just to add some more colour between the buildings as well. So that is more or less the end of the build now. I'm going to add some lot traits that just add to the vibrancy, like the sunny aspect and the party place, that kind of thing. So yeah, that is my little Havana completed on the exterior anyway. I really hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned for the next videos. Bye!